Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. I hope you're ready because it's time for the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap. This video is, as always, a complete monstrosity where we will go over, in fact, 17 decks. So let's get started with the S tier, which we're going to have 2 decks in, although I think there might be a third that's really knocking on the door. It is very close. Okay. So the first deck is Jet's Kid Nimrod Force. He keeps saying that this isn't very good, but even outside of his hands, this has one of the top win rates in the game, and he's in the top 10 of the Infinite Leaderboard. This deck just is fundamentally incredibly strong into what the meta is doing right now. It just puts up a ridiculous amount of points in like 3 or 4 different ways. It has a lot of skill expression and play pattern. We'll show you some versions of this that are not as complicated to play if you're interested in this archetype, but this is, I think, going to be the best version right now because it's extraordinarily difficult for your opponent to play around the 3 or 4 different things you could be doing at any given time. You can find Jet at twitch.tv/Jet13. Jet is one of the best players in the world. He puts Phoenix Force in absolutely every deck. He runs a lot of like actual Phoenix Force decks and a lot of decks that just sort of run Phoenix Force as an extra way to get on reveals. Brilliant player. He is currently in the top 10 of the Infinite Leaderboard. He has previously finished as high as number 2, and I believe the second season of the Infinite Leaderboard ever existing. This deck does need all of its high series stuff, which means it is a Kid Omega need. You're also going to need X-23, Series 4, Dormammu New, and Phoenix Force Series 4. If you do not have Kid Omega, I personally cannot test this deck because I do not own Kid Omega. One of Toxic Soul King's viewers, we covered this deck earlier this week, created this deck that's been doing really well, like a high 50s, low 60% win rate in top 10% infinite. So this is another version of a Nimrod Dormammu deck that you're more than welcome to run if you do not own the card Kid Omega. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that we can do this without Kid Omega. If you do have Kid Omega and you want to play an easier version of this list, the Shuri Black Panther version of the list, the KM Best version of the list, remains nearly as high a win rate as the previous list. The reason it's probably not as high a win rate or cube rate right now is that it's just more known, and it's generally easy to play against more known decks. As the Jet deck becomes more popular, largely thanks to this video and those like it, that should change over time. But for now, the deck we actually want to talk about is the Kid Nimrod Force. So Deadpool in this deck gets really big. That's his entire raison d'etre in this deck. You play Kid Omega, you play Carnage, you play Venom, you should be able to get yourself a really big Deadpool. You also obviously have that spell from our friend Dormammu, spell 3, that will also destroy Deadpool. Remember that spell 1 will not work on Deadpool, so you're going to need to destroy something else to make that happen, but you should be able to even destroy something really big with that because you want to make yourself a big Dormammu. Because Deadpool himself gets lane-winningly big because Forge and Hulkbuster are in this deck. If you can get that going, especially if you can get that going and get like a 10 to 20 power Deadpool eaten by either Venom or Kid Omega so that you have that, keep that power and then still get to replay the Deadpool at the end of the game, that's a winning play. You're trying to, at the end of the game, like have a big Venom, a big Kid Omega, generally speaking around the same location, and then you Dormammu elsewhere and play Deadpool at the end, and it's just a ton of power. That is one way to do it. Nico is a destroy draw 2, obviously incredible with almost everything. You're perfectly happy to make that the destroy card that you merge, or that the destroy card that you don't merge, and then play Phoenix Force on to then destroy another card that you can then use to get a huge Deadpool, see your whole deck, as the case may be. All that stuff works really great. The copy spell is great. Once you get that Deadpool to 10 or 20 power, you're perfectly happy to have it, and it's an extra 2 power on Deadpool or Nimrod in a pinch. X-23 gives you extra energy. You don't always need it, but it's really nice to have. Kid Omega, Carnage, Venom, and Deathlock are your destroy cards. That's every destroy card that we see in these decks normally. We're not running Killmonger because Deadpool's the only one we really give a crap about for that. We're not running Misery because Nimrod's the card we really want to kill. So we are running basically the destroy cards we can for this list. Forge and Hulkbuster are for Deadpool or Nimrod. Don't be afraid to use either of them on Nimrod. A reasonable thing to do is after you play Nimrod, you can play Hulkbuster and then use the Destroy 2 spell on Nimrod and another card in that location. Yes, you're going to have to risk losing Nimrod, but you can use the Destroy 2 at that point to bring Dormammu in and then shove some Nimrods into other locations. It's generally easier to use Forge to buff your Nimrod here, but if you use Forge to buff your Nimrod, you could obviously immediately destroy with Kid Omega, keeping that power, which is really nice. You can Venom it to further spread power. Like, everyone acts like Nimrod has to be buffed to the moon in order to be good. the Galactic change has really taught me and taught a lot of the meta that a +2 on Nimrod getting 8 power everywhere is an awful lot, right? That's still 32 in each lane if you can fill them with Nimrods. And if you get like a 24 with some extra junk in there and then a 32 from Nimrods, you should be generally good to go. Deathlock, Venom, more destroy cards. Phoenix Force is sort of extra here. There's nothing you're loving Phoenix Forcing here. A lot of what I end up trying to end up Phoenix Force is our destroy cards. I'm using it almost as an extra destroy trigger here. And there's no like there's no Human Torch. There's no multiple man, right? So what I'm trying to generally use the Phoenix Force for is just this extra trigger of a powerful card. I'm perfectly happy to do that, particularly if I like use Kid Omega into Venom. Like sometimes I'm gonna miss, right? But like a lot of the times I'm using I'm destroying Deadpool and X-23, a particularly big Deadpool in 23, and then I can play Venom to destroy them, letting Venom get destroyed, right? I've now got this stupidly big Kid Omega, and I can Phoenix Force that Venom to destroy a Nimrod on the last turn of the game. Stuff like that. It's just a generally useful piece to have. Is it amazing? No, especially because you might lose what you want to merge. But like that also makes it a little easier to get back one of your destroy cards because you often end up like merging a Nico, merging a Forge, and that should leave you extra stuff. You can also like if you go Forge into like I don't know Carnage into Phoenix Force, then you can play Nimrod and start doing Nimrod destroy stuff too, and you now have a movable 7 power Forge. Again, all this stuff is perfectly fine. Nimrod is a backup game plan to get extra power across the board. And then Dormammu is just something you sort of get incidentally in this deck. You don't actually have to go out of your way to play Dormammu. He just sort of happens a lot of the time. You often want a destroy on the last turn of the game, right? Especially if you could use X-23 to get Nimrod out on 4. You're very often going to want that destroy on the last turn of the game, which is just obviously a really powerful place to find yourself. And it happens a lot more than you think. It's just a free like 18 to 20 power card in the lane, which is really big in this very mid-range heavy meta. So this is currently rank 7 with a 59% win rate at high infinite. And remember, Jet is not all of that like 200 games, 150 games, whatever it is. At high infinite, he is a reasonable sample, but not the whole sample. People are absolutely rocking with this deck. It's really good and very, very hard to predict where the power is going to come from. Like you don't necessarily know, like the power of destroy is often where's that Deadpool going to be at the end. You also have how many Nimrods am I going to make at the end. That kind of thing is really, really great. Turn 1, Nico Destroy is like amazing over X-23 or Deadpool. If you have any buffs, go Deadpool. If not, X-23 is fine, especially if you might want to get Nimrod out on 4. Turn 2, Forge or Hulkbuster for Deadpool, or you can just drop Kid Omega. And I think any of those are snap conditions. If you can make yourself a big Deadpool, you should strongly consider snapping. Turn 3, Destroy Deadpool +1. And now we want to play Ritual 1 because we are hopefully destroying Deadpool, and then that Forge or that Nico or something else with it. Sometimes it'll even be that Kid Omega, that's fine. And then you can always bring that back. I don't actually own Kid Omega. I'd like to test, but I'm pretty sure if you have not activated Kid Omega and you bring it back with Phoenix Force, it can still be activated for just a crazy powerful card. So that means like a turn 5, turn 4, bring back Kid Omega. Turn 5, use it to destroy a Deadpool to currently make it even bigger is a real play. Again, I'd like to test that, but I'm not sure. I could not find Jet doing it, but I believe it is still viable. Turn 3, destroy Deadpool plus Ritual 1. Turn 4, Phoenix Force for Forge, Nico Destroy for Kid Omega for whatever, or destroy Deadpool again and Ritual 2 in order to set up a buff for Nimrod. So a Forge for Nimrod at this point, or a Nico plus for Nimrod at this point. Turn 5, Nimrod buffed and trigger Kid Omega, or obviously replay and destroy some more stuff. And then we're going to end with Dormammu and Deadpool, or just multiple destroys for Nimrod. This is a combo deck, and it's a combo deck that's hard to predict. There's a lot of linear combo decks in Marvel Snap. We're talking our Mr. Negative style decks, our Hella style decks, where you sort of do the same thing every game. This is not that. This is trying to say, yes, I'm a combo deck, but you cannot predict the power, and that power is going to really, really mess you up if you're good with it. If you practice with this deck, I have no doubt it's tier 1. This is not super easy to play, but it is incredible. Our S tier right now is harder to play decks. But before we get to the second one, this is our first video of giving away Mr. Fantastic. We are going to give away 5 Mr. Fantastic this coming week. This is your first chance to win one. I'll have to do a sub, like, and then later this video, leave a comment. You can win Mr. Fantastic First Steps, next month's Season Pass card. As soon as that Season Pass video drops on Monday, by the way, that's tomorrow, I'd assume, but it's the 4th of July. Hey, happy 4th of July, by the way. Didn't recording in advance, right? But as soon as that video drops, I'm assuming it's not going to come out on a holiday if it comes out Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Guessing Monday because they don't usually release them on the weekends. Whenever it releases, that video is recorded, and as soon as it releases, I will have my season review video going over all the cards coming that season. Cool? All right, next up, we've got Eggy's move. I think the standard move lists are the best deck in the Snap. I think this is better than Nimrod, better than everything else. I think it puts up more points and is more disruptive than anything. So a lot of what used to make move hard to play is you would have to wait till exactly the right time and exactly the right place to move things. Ghost Spider and Iron Fist and Aranya are one-time moves, and so you need to use them exactly perfectly, and you need to hold them till late game and figure out when and how you're going to use them. Hellion, Funfei, and Madam Web mean you don't have to be perfect anymore. If you make a mistake, you can move things where you want, and it ends up really, really powerful. This list is amazing. It's created by Eggy, a 15-year-old freaking player, twitch.tv/121Eggy. This deck needs Funfei and Madam Web. Hellion can be Cloak. It is ridiculously worse in this list, but it's fine. Aranya can be Doctor Strange. Hulkling can be Magneto or Red Hulk. Basically the biggest six you got. All right. I'm not sure if the Eggy version is better than the Sizer version. Sizer has been crushing with this other version. I've been having ridiculous success with both of these lists. I think these are both stupidly easy to play. The Sizer version has extra play into Dormammu stuff because of armor. It's not playing armor because of Dormammu stuff. It's playing armor to protect from Shang, right? But you also just get free cube equity for running Cosmo and armor into that matchup. Raven is stupidly huge. I love this version. I have no idea which is better, but the Eggy one has a larger sample, so that's the one we went with as far as sharing. If you want a full review of the Sizer one, check this Saturday's video where we covered the #1 deck. Last Saturday's video, 6 days ago on the channel. All right, so Aranya, Ghost Spider, Iron Fist are your one-time moves. You could use them earlier and less carefully than you want to previously in move lists because you have Funfei, Hellion, and Madam Web also. Because you are used to be so short on move cards, you used to have to be really, really careful with them. That's no longer the case. Aranya's best hit is almost always Human Torch, because giving Human Torch an extra 1 power gets doubled throughout the game, and obviously doubling things multiple times, that's exponential growth and really good. Ghost Spider and Iron Fist are happy to hit the Torch, the Dagger, or the Vulture, so use them as you will. I tend to like to use them to punch into Madam Web or pull back into Madam Web, as the case may be, so we get that extra move in that way. Same basic concept for Funfei. Again, that's less of a concern now because we do have Hellion to reposition everything later. Madam Web remains the best move card, and with Red Guardian nerfed, we're seeing less Red Guardian in the meta than ever. It's still prevalent, right? We're going to see a Red Guardian deck later, but there's not that many where it used to be in almost every deck, which means Madam Web is now one of the best cards of the game. Dagger, Vulture, Torch are your big move cards. You want to move at least one of them several times. It used to be that you had to see 2, but Funfei is a 7, Hellion is an 8, Heimdall is a 10, and Hulkling is a 12. So if you play Funfei, Hellion, and either Hulkling or Heimdall, you do have a lane-winning amount of power in a lane without you having to necessarily see a second mover, which is another huge boon to this list. It lets you win, and like sometimes you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get Shang here, but I'm also going to spend my last turn dropping Funfei, and they're not going to be able to like Shang me and still outpower that 7 power of Funfei, which is just absolutely awesome. Of course, sometimes you don't get Shang because this deck does run enough power that you are often going to have priority in the mid game, and you can Cosmo. You want to get Cosmo down ideally in like a Funfei and Madam Web lane, or you want to get Cosmo down before you Hellion. This way you could threaten where that Cosmo is going to be, and now your opponent is left guessing on what's going to happen. Hellion on turn 5, you would mostly like to play it in the far right lane. If you play it in the far right lane, you can then choose which of your move cards to move from the center lane there, and whether you Heimdall or not in order to win the game. Be careful, obviously, of Shang-Chi, but hey, that's what Cosmo is doing in the list. Also, sometimes you can use Hellion as a feint if you've seen the way your opponent's playing and know how to do that. Heimdall is your big move at the end, and Hulkling is just sometimes you just need power. You don't need a big move, and Hulkling gives you that power and unpredictability to boot for extra cubes. That's what's a beast. So this one has a 62% win rate, the highest win rate of anything we'll talk about in 220 games at High Infinite, and it went undefeated in last weekend's Pride tourney. Turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, Web over Fist for Torch or Vulture. Turn 3, we're looking for Cosmo on Web, or we can move Vulture. Turn 4, Funfei or a second mover. Turn 5, Hellion or cheap stuff plus mover. Then turn 6, Heimdall or Hulkling. But if we went like Madam Web into like other stuff, into Cosmo, into Funfei, into Hellion, now sometimes we're just going to use like Iron Fist and Torch with our Vulture, right? Or with our in order to like push them into Funfei, who you can then trigger. That kind of thing is still really, really strong. Remember that you can order things as you want. You can punch something into Funfei, and then you can use Funfei, and then you can use Ghost Spider to pull it to another location. All that stuff works absolutely incredibly to just suddenly have crazy, crazy power. I think this is, honest to God, this or the Sizer version, and then Sizer has a third version of this, is the best deck in the game, period. And I think it's, if you struggled with move bounce, I think that it is worth especially taking this into like Conquest to really practice with it, because I think this is far, far easier to play. That's going to be the end of the S tier, but I'm pretty sure this next deck is like either S tier or borderline S tier. I think with 1 or 2 changes, it would be S tier. This is Dark Razor, the current #1 player's Victoria hand list. So I think that this deck really, really wants Cosmo, but you have to cut Juggernaut to get there, and I'm not sold that's worth it. I might want to cut Anti-Venom, but so Cosmo gives you play into some of these other decks because you have Shadow King Cosmo, and now you have enough real like tech to mess with things, to mess with like the Destroy decks and so on. Without that, you're really, really putting a lot of weight on that Shadow King and Juggernaut, and that makes this a lot harder to win with. So let's keep that in mind. But like, so that I think would push us to S tier, but that's untested, right? We talked to the podcast that'll be out either Saturday or Sunday. We talked to Zenade about this, and like, I'm not sure with our conversation with Zenade. Like, Zenade convinced me that a Cosmo might bring this test here, but because that's an untested theory still, or that's an under-tested theory still, I had to put this in A tier. It's one of the best decks in the game. If you want to play mid-range and not combo, Move is a combo deck. It's a theme deck, right? Like, it's all built around move cards. The Phoenix Force Destroy stuff is a theme deck. It's built around destroying stuff and using Dormammu. This is just a good stuff deck. It's themed around Victoria Hand, but what it's doing is running cards that give you a decent amount of points, and then Shadow King is tech. It is a very, very strong list, and I like it a lot. But it is also got a severely lower power output than the others. It's using Shadow King to try and make up for that. This is the deck that rose ultimately out of the Victoria Hand nerf. So, sorry, not the Victoria Hand nerf, the Galacta nerf. So what ultimately happens, I think I understand the Misery nerf the Misery buff that everyone has been talking about. There was very little reason to play Misery even at a 4/8 when Gwenpool is a 4/12, Galacta is a 4/11, and they can both play for much more by hitting certain targets, right? Those cards are generic and go in generically good decks, while Misery is specific and goes in hyper-specific decks. It goes Victoria Hand and Phoenix Force lists. So what they're saying is we need to put enough points on 4-drops to make it valid, to make it worthwhile to run other 4-drops than these other ones that have all this extra power. And it seems like 4/9, which is one of the best highlights in the game, is where they lined up for that. Dark Razor is streaming all the damn time at twitch.tv/darkrazor, DRK_RAZR. This deck needs Victoria Hand, Kate, and Misery. Speed can be Prodigy or Sage, although be careful with cutting ongoings because you do want a second ongoing for your Moonstone, otherwise you do not have one. Moonstone can be the Ancient one here. That is a generally fine replacement, while Iron Patriot can be Mirage, and Anti-Venom can be Kahori or Serra. If you would like an alternate version of this, our friend Burrs is around the top 10 of the Infinite leaderboard with this version of the list. It's absolutely excellent. We covered it in 2 days ago's video here on the channel if you want the full guide to that. Armor here could be Juggernaut just fine. You could also consider running Cosmo. All right, so Hood is here. The main thing you really want to do in a Victoria Hand list is make yourself extra demons. That's what Misery is ultimately here for. 2 demons at 8 to 10 power each is just a ridiculously good rate. You can get rid of your Hood ideally by Miserying it, but you can also use it, turn into a demon with Nico, or use it to draw 2 cards with Nico. That's generally Nico's use. And Nico also gives you an extra copy for Victoria Hand, and just having access to like the location change and buff and so on are just nice to have. Shadow King is your one big control card. It says all of my extra power comes from ongoings here, so I should be able to take advantage of beating down scalers. Kate gives you extra 1s that you can play Victoria Hand. You have the demons, but having more 1s that you can play for hand is good. Iron Patriot gives you a very specific combo with Hood and Misery. It's called the Burrs combo. We just talked about Burrs earlier. I'm going to explain that combo here and now. I say it every time we talk about one of these decks, once per video. So hopefully, once is enough. You play Hood on 1 or 2. On turn 3, on the Hood lane, you play Iron Patriot and Demon. Turn 4, you follow that up with Misery. You've now destroyed the Hood and Iron Patriot, but you still have a Demon and Misery there. That is 15 power, usually enough to win that Iron Patriot lane, and you'll get access to an extra Demon, while also getting a cheap Iron Patriot card. It's a beauty. It's an incredibly strong combo, one worth running. Victoria Hand is the power output for the deck. Yes, the demons are good. Yes, the Iron Patriot is good, but unless you absolutely combo off with that stuff, Victoria Hand is what gives you enough power to win. She is fundamentally Cerebro for a Cerebro deck, or as close as we get. Juggernaut lets us win a game on cheap and also lets us win an Iron Patriot late in an emergency. Speed is keyword big from an ongoing card, which is important here because we have Moonstone, and if we can't Moonstone Victoria Hand, we absolutely want a Moonstone Speed. That is a lane-winning combination. Frigga has several targets. Victoria Hand is the main one, but there's also whatever card Anti-Venom hits. Let's say Anti-Venom hits Victoria Hand or Shadow King, whatever. You play that on turn 5 and you frig it, and you still have another 0-cost copy of it, which is incredibly strong and really, really useful. Also, don't be afraid to copy yourself a demon. Whatever Frigga copies will be buffed by Victoria Hand. Moonstone is for hand and speed. Anti-Venom is obviously to get a free card. Really great with Frigga, also really great with Shadow King. If you play that card in the lane you want a Shadow King, it will get its power back, which is pretty great. And then Misery is, of course, for Hood and for Iron Patriot, but it's generally just, having access to a 4/9 in your decks is a good thing to have. This is currently the rank 1 list. Dark Razor is at rank 1 with this. Again, this is absolute borderline of S tier, depending on how much combo stuff you're seeing. Turn 1, we have Hood. Turn 2, Hand to Frigga over Iron Patriot if it's going to win, over Kate. Turn 3, we can go Frigga, but that would be Victoria Hand. We can go Juggernaut or Speed for Iron Patriot. Totally fine, right? Or we can go Demon and Iron Patriot in the Burst combo. Turn 4, we're going Moonstone for Hand, Misery for Hood, or Anti-Venom in general. Or if we haven't generated cards, we can go 2+2 with 1 being Iron Patriot. If one of those 2s is Victoria Hand, make sure she's second in case you want to Frigga her on turn 5. Turn 5 is generate cards and hand Frigga. If you want 2+2, you can generate, you can Frigga the Victoria Hand now and still play a Kate Bishop to get some arrows out, which is really nice. And then turn 6 Shadow King and whatever generated cards you have access to. Again, absolute borderline of S tier. As I keep talking about it, I've gone back and forth in my head even like multiple times in this video about where this one belongs. Before we go forward, if you're willing to hit that sub button, like and comment, it would mean the absolute world to us. We're doing our very best to fight the algorithm and reach more people. It seems like we're not being shown to that many new people, so your sub, like, and comment would really, really help us out in terms of growing the channel. Please, if you're willing to, it costs you nothing and really does help. Mr. Sinister Chamo. This is, we haven't changed this list. See the date, that's June 15th. This list has been the same. Chamo built a control list with Mr. Sinister basically in the control shell. This is like running just all the control cards, right? This is Tech Soup. And its basic job is to just play a lot of tempo cards, a lot of good power, thanks to Gwenpool, Galacta, Gladiator, that kind of thing, and then win with Fenris Wolf, buff Sinister, and a control card. Very simple deck. Chamo is crushing with it. You can find Chamo, a Spanish speaker, at twitch.tv/Chamo92. Hello, Chamo. Hopefully you're doing well, my friend. This deck needs Surge, Gwenpool, Galacta, Fenris, and Gladiator. Merlin can be Kate Bishop and Shadow King, although Merlin is absolutely excellent here. We'll go over why. If you'd like an alternate version, our friend Sizer, of previous Move Deck fame, built this version. I think it's pretty damn good. It's very similar to the Jakub Levish version, except this one runs werewolf stuff instead. So really, really cool list if you're interested in an alternate version. All right, the Mr. Sinister Chamo. Zabu and Surge are here to make 4 drops cheaper. A Enchantress or Shang-Chi that costs 3 at the end of the game is great, but getting Galacta and Gwenpool out on 3 is the real point here. Sinister is almost always a last or second to last turn play. You want to hit it with Gwenpool or Galacta before you play it. Hitting with Galacta is no longer a 2/10, now it's a 2/8, but 2/8 is still great stats. Surge, we talked about, extra energy is good. Fenris Wolf, we have Gladiator, we have Shang-Chi, we have Killmonger. We hopefully play him for like a 2/9 or more. We kill a demon, it's a 2/9. Merlin gives us access to a lot of powerful spells. The extra energy, if we didn't get anything good out of Sinister or out of Zabu, is awesome. Being able to change locations when they benefit our opponent is awesome. And, of course, a Shang-Chi or Enchantress that are used, well, especially Shang-Chi, is low power. Turning that into a 1-cost higher card, a 5-drop, is awesome for you. Killmonger is 2, a great hard card to hit with Merlin once used, as is Mobius. Killmonger is just saying, I don't really want to lose to the Victoria Hand list. What's keeping the Victoria Hand list in A tier for me as opposed to S tier is we've got 2 Killmonger decks in the A tier, and I think the prevalence of those decks holds back the Victoria Hand, which really does rely on the Hood a fair amount. But this is a lovely Killmonger, and then of course we have Mobius as a way to say we're going to chase away negative, we're going to chase away Sarah and win those matchups. Gladiator is a lot of power and great with Fenris. Shang-Chi, power must be controlled. Enchantress, ongoings must be controlled. Galacta is a smaller power buff. She is now no longer better than Gwenpool in the deck, but she's still good power, and then Gwenpool is absolutely great. So Chamo is currently ranked 3 with this list, holding down a 60% win rate. The win rate for the deck overall is lower, but Chamo has maintained a really high win rate with it. So on Zabu, turn 2 Surge. If you get Zebu and Surge and you have every 4 in your deck, you could probably snap over Merlin over Fenris. Let's do this now. If you're new here, yellow is just regular cards you play. White means often a snap condition. Green means a conditional snap condition. If you get Galactor or Gwenpool on turn 3, you should snap. That's better than Gladiator, which is generally better than Mobius. If your opponent has played a Ravona, obviously snap and play Mobius over the other stuff. Turn 4, Galactor or Gwenpool. Turn 5, if you don't see Galactor or Gwenpool, you're often running. Control cards and a 2 is generally speaking your play. This is your Fenris turn, Fenris and Gladiator, Fenris and Killmonger. Then turn 6, Shangar Enchantress, and Sinister you want to be buffed as if possible. I don't know. This is control soup number 1. We're going to see a few control soup lists. Sorry, tech soup lists. Chamo's ranked 3 with this. It's a real strong list. Hey, we have a Patreon. We only advertise this once a week, but if you're interested in checking it out, in the world, with second innovation decisions, a few of my Patrons seem to have quit Marvel Snap, so we could use a little bit extra support as I'm moving around the world in a couple of weeks. Our $2 tier gives you access to tournaments. Right now, we're not doing a Snap Judgments League because honest to God, we don't have time as I'm moving around the world, but we'll hopefully get back to those soon. But your $2 tier is just a way to show some extra support. It's less than like 3 cents a video if you're interested, and it gets you access to occasional exclusive content. Our $5 tier is early access to almost every video we post here on the channel, and our $10 tier gets you a weekly exclusive video and exclusive giveaways. So if you're interested in any of those, please do check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. Next up, we have Ika's Miracle. This one had a 74% win rate. Currently, KM Best is in the top 10 of the Infinite Leaderboard with it. Ika is brilliant. He's going to be in this video, I believe, like 3 or 4 times. Ika's absolutely been cooking up monster decks lately. This is another Tech Soup deck, another Killmonger deck. I told you that's what's holding back the Victoria hand, in my opinion. This one in particular, running Invisible Woman to do so, is extra strong. You can find Ika at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. Gwenpool, Hitmonkey, and Merlin are your required cards, and if you don't have Surge, you could run Jennifer Kale. Alright, so Shadow King, Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Enchantress are control cards. Sometimes you have Prio, and it's really hard to avoid. What you want to do is use Invisible Woman to get your Shang, Enchantress, Killmonger, Shadow King off in the way you want them to. Surge is just a little bit of extra ramp. We run Surge over Zabu because we have Killmonger. It's a perfectly fine replacement if you would like to make it, although I don't think I wrote it there. I did not. You are perfectly happy to run Zabu over Surge here as an extra option. You want 4s for 3. Sometimes you want Sarah for 4. Getting a Mysterio down to 1 will break the chain of Surge, but it's still worthwhile for you, especially if you don't see Sarah. All that stuff is good. Invisible Woman is your way to throw Prio. You would like to play her on the last turn with the Shangar Enchantress, but sometimes you'll play her early and just drop stuff behind her. Make your opponent guess. There's not enough Cosmo for it to be a worry. Merlin has several uses. The main one here, outside of obviously location change, is you can turn Mysterio clones into good cards, making them either 3-drops or using them for extra energy. So you don't always see Sarah, and basically being able to use Merlin to make yourself a last turn Sarah turn with last turn Wiccan turn at the very least is very useful. Mysterio has 3 different uses. First, it's +3 power on Bishop. Next, it's +6 power when played on the same turn as Hitmonkey. And last, each clone carries the Gwenpool buffs. So one buff is going to be 2/2, that's 4, +6, that's a 10 power for 2, that's great numbers. It will also carry the Surge buff just fine, but that's not as good. That just makes it 5, 6, 7. That's a 2/7. Look, 2/7 is still pretty damn good. Mysterio and Monkey are meant to be your last turn play. You play them together, you get the +6 on Monkey, that's already a 3/9, and then you can play anything else, you're hitting a 3/11. Great stuff. You can also throw Monkey behind Invisible Woman, and everything played on that last turn, not everything else played behind Invisible Woman, but everything played on the last turn will count toward your Monkey buff. We talked about the control cards. Gwenpool is here largely for Mysterio, but hey, an extra unpredictable buff is good. And Sarah, of course, is a 5/5 that makes all your stuff cheaper and lets you have absolutely explosive last turns, like Mysterio for 1, Monkey for 2, Shang or Enchantress for 3. Cool. Next up, KM Best is currently ranked 9 with this. Ika is the greater of the list. Turn 1 pass. Turn 2 Merlin equals Surge. It's going to depend what you have for 3. And if you have Sarah, right? If you have a chance to draw Sarah or Gwenpool, you probably want to Surge. If you don't have a 3-drop, you will want to play Merlin so that you can go Surge and Merlin spell on turn 3. You can also drop Invisible Woman or hold Invisible Woman pending board space. If there's not a lot of board space, hold her. Bishop over Gwenpool over 2 on turn 3. Obviously, don't forget the Surge and Merlin spell idea. Turn 4, Gwenpool, and if Gwenpool hits well, you can snap on it. Over Bishop or a control card if you must. If they drop Mobius for the love of God, Enchantress it. Turn 5, Sarah. Sarah is a snap condition. Over Invisible Woman and a 3. Monger, cheaper Enchantress Shang here, or Monkey are all good choices. Turn 6, Monkey Mysterio plus control card, and remember to, if you can, make Sarah a 6-drop with Merlin spell. Yeah, this is, again, another tech soup. This is, I don't think we're going to see much more tech soup, but this is an absolute monster of a list. It is one of the best lists in Marvel Snap. That's why it's in the A tier. If any, again, like this and the Dark Razor, and honestly the Chamo, any of these are close enough to S. I just think the combo stuff is invulnerable enough to the tech that it's probably still there. Like if you play the Invisible Woman early, right? It's easy for Move to go around it, or the Phoenix Force list to go around it, and then we're playing different games, right? Because this just doesn't have the power to really match up. Hey, come check out twitch.tv/PulseGlazer if you are so inclined. I usually stream 4 days a week. Again, I am moving around the world in about a week and a half. I'm moving to Vietnam. So I've been really, really busy. But as soon as I get moved, one of the first things I'm going to do is get my full streaming set up. I've got a better mic and everything else waiting for me. So we will get going with all that good stuff. Next up, we've got the bird and the dog. I have no idea who made this version. I could not figure it out. I asked a bunch of top players, but this one has an absolutely great win rate, and I'm dying to play this. We used to play the bird and the bat, which was from our friend Thursday, the first really great Redwing deck. It's the one that was around forever a few months ago when Zorn came out, or last month when Zorn came out, it was everywhere. Well, it turns out that the lockjaw change meant adding Luna and Blink, basically combining that previous version with the good machine, ended up becoming a meta deck. If anyone knows who made this, by the way, please do let me know. This deck needs Madam Web or Redwing and Luna. Red Hulk or Hulkling can be Magneto. Hulk, pick your biggest 6s. Zorn can be Cloak. Blink can be Dracula or Jubilee. And Surge can be Armor. If you would like the original version, well, this is, I guess, the secondary version. The original version ran Cloak and Raven over Surge and Zorn. So then Zorn and Surge came in when they were released. But if you'd like the original version, this is it. It's still great. It's my oldest built deck, and I absolutely love it. The bird. I did do it. Woo! For a second, I thought I didn't do a turn by turn. All right, so Madam Web is here largely for Redwing, but also because as you pop cards up with Blink, as you randomly generate all these big cards, having the ability to move them is great. Lockjaw is incredible. Feel free to, around turn 5, as you have limited things to do, just drop a card in Lockjaw and hopefully get yourself a nice big card. Very powerful stuff to do with the little doggy. Yes, it only activates once, but that's still super great. Surge gives you a 6-on-5. That's fundamentally her use. A 6-on-5 or a Blink on 4 are both what you're really trying to hit with that, although having the ability to fit extra things in the curve is still pretty damn nice. Zorn is once more here for Redwing. It's chucking Redwing to the middle. That's obviously very, very good to do. Especially because you do that all in one turn. Cosmo helps to protect you largely from Shang-Chi and ruins your opponent's stay for multiple plans. Redwing is your big ramp card. Redwing is, in my opinion, the new Hela. I think this deck is probably just better than Hela straight up right now. So if you don't have Redwing and you like Hela, strongly consider it. Luna gives you access to immediate Blink and 6 drops on 5. Again, great stuff. You're happy to have it, especially if you can move stuff around with Madam Web. You Blink Luna, you're guaranteed a 6-drop. There's nothing else to get. Red Hulk, Rose, you can also Blink your Surge. If you played Luna, or you can Blink it too and still have a chance to get Cosmo, Luna, Redwing, which you don't love. So if you're going to do that, try to do it in Madam Web so that you can still get the, if you get the Redwing, you can still move it. But you can also blink away your Cosmo or used Redwing just fine. And at that point, you are, again, guaranteed to get a 6-drop. Red Hulk is big, Giganto is big, Infinite is big. You're trying to cheat them out using Blink and Redwing or Lockjaw. And then, of course, Emperor Hulkling could be any 6, which means he can be stupidly huge and unbeatable. Or, totally unplayable, but you have multiple ways to cheat him. Now playing the role of Hela is this deck, 59% win rate in 120 games. Turn 1 pass, turn 2 Lockjaw is better than Web equals Zorn over Surge. Turn 3 Luna over Redwing. If you have the right hits for that, those can be snaps. Turn 4 Blink, or you can drop a 3. Turn 5, we're going Blink, if we didn't play Blink on 4, obviously, or Web or Zorn plus Redwing, or you can drop a 6 if you played Luna or got lucky with your Surge. You can also drop an extra card into Lockjaw here. If you go Zorn, Redwing, you can play Redwing and then trigger Lockjaw. Zorn's going to move Redwing, and then Redwing is going to go away and become a 6, which means you get a 6 in 2 different locations. Real nice stuff. Turn 6 is the last 6 you got. Whatever 6 you can play. Ideally, that's Red Hulk or Emperor Hulkling. Sometimes it's still Giganto, and you're totally fine, because Giganto's 16 freaking power. I love this list. I love this list. I don't know what else to say. I am a Redwing fan, and I was ready to hate that card because it was data mined as a bounce card, and then it came out as this, but I love it, and I don't know what else to say. I am excited to play this list an awful lot. The B tier. First, we got Honifer's deck. Honifer has absolutely been crushing with this since the first Golden Gauntlet when he finished in the top 4 with it. It is a... Was it the first? No, second Golden Gauntlet when he finished in the top 4 with it. It is an absolute, killer monster of a list that we love very much. We featured this so many times on the channel at this point. It's one of the best decks in the game. Honifer is a top Marvel Snap player. I tell you to check them out if there were a way to do so. This deck needs Werewolf, Annie, and Merlin. Sam, Kate, and Surge can be any good one on reveal. Nico, Ham, Iceman, Spider-Man, not Spider-Hat. Alright. If you want another version, everyone credits Lambie for this, but Professor Lucci hit the top 8 of Golden Gauntlet with it before Lambie made it, so it's Professor Lucci's deck. I don't think Lambie knows he got it from here, but this is where the idea came from. This list is still awesome. Kahori is, genuinely a great card right now. Alright. We've talked about this so many times. Yellow Jacket has three uses here. On reveal to move Werewolf, can give a -1 to Captain America's shield, so you can Annie it over. And, can just take care of bad locations for you. Generally, just a really good and useful card to have. Also, an amazing card to shove into your deck with Merlin for 2 extra energy. You turn 0 energy into 1 energy from the Merlin spell into 2 energy next turn. It being one of the only ways to get, a positive energy rate out of that combo. The Hood can likewise become that extra energy, become a 2-drop with Merlin. It can be sent over with Viper or Annihilus as well. And having access to demons is generally something good, especially if we don't run 6-drops. The last card that we're going to do that exact thing with, we can Viper, we can Annihilus, we can shove it into the deck, turn it into a 1-cost Skyer, is Sentry's Void. Sam Wilson is just a decent static card. Having the ability to avoid Clog and stuff is really, really nice, but also giving it the -1 and sending it over is pretty good. Hell, just sending it over as a 0-costed Viper isn't the worst thing to do. Shadow King is your one big control card here. Again, it seems like a lot of decks, if they're running heavier curves, are running Shadow King as their one control card, see also that Victoria hand list. Surge is in every deck. She's just really, really good. She just makes things cheaper. I'm very curious. I remain curious to see if Surge or Mr. Fantastic First Steps is better. My guess is we just run both. Kate Bishop gives us access to arrows. Arrows are cheap, and they move around the Werewolf by night, and also help clog opponents, which is a thing we do. Merlin helps move around the Werewolf without any downside. Really good stuff. Werewolf is our big power. If we need to go over the top of something, Werewolf can get to 17-20 power and win us a lane all by himself. We've talked about Viper and what she sends over. We've talked about Sentry and what he does. Annihilus is your other way to do that, while also having really great stats. And then Agamotto gives us some unpredictability. We have a little bit extra clop from Winds of a Tomb. We have a little bit extra energy from Bolts of Balzac. All this stuff just makes us more surprising and harder to beat, while also occasionally giving us access to a 5-13, which on the last turn of the game with the Demon is 19 power. That's an infinite without skipping a turn. Alright, rank 6 right now is our friend Honifer. Turn 1 Hood over Yellow Jacket we talked about earlier. Merlin or Sage over Sam equals Kate on turn 2. Kate depends on hand size. Turn 3 Werewolf over 2. If locations are good, Werewolf can be a snap. Turn 4 Sentry over 2/2. If you have the answer for Sentry, if you know that you can get rid of the Void, you can snap it, but be careful. Turn 5 Annie Viper of Sentry, or you can still Sentry here. Turn 6 Annie Viper or combo stuff, Demon, Shadow King, and so on. This one is relatively simple to play. It is very powerful and very consistent. I just think it's a slight step down in basically everyone but Honifer's hands, as opposed to the other A-tier decks. I write articles on Marvel Snap Zone. I'm on hiatus until I move, but I will be back, so please make sure you're checking out Marvel Snap Zone for some great articles all the damn time. Alright, Avazords. Top 16, Destroying Control. This is yet another Golden Gauntlet deck. So many of the Golden Gauntlet decks are still near the top of the leaderboard. This is a Supergiant list that is still incredible, because Supergiant is one of the best ways to beat stuff like Bounce, right? Supergiant is one of the best ways to stop combo decks and say, no, 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 no. You are not doing the thing you thought you are. And so Supergiant's in a really, really great place against those, but this deck can struggle, and often does struggle, into the sort of mid-range stuff that populates A tier, thus putting it into B, but it is close. You can find Ava at twitch.tv/Avazord. This one needs Mercury, Fenris, Gladiator, Cannonball, Negasonic. Sage can beat Wolfsbane or Juggernaut. So I am straight up terrible with Supergiant, so I will not be playing this list, but here's what you do with it. Mercury is here largely for Cannonball. Holding shit still is good. You'll also notice several Werewolf by Nights and move decks. Mercury is good for those. Shadow King is the same thing as always. If you're running a heavy curve, it's the tech card you run. Daredevil lets us know what people are doing on turn 5. Supergiant makes things on turn 5 not revealed to the end of the game. Between those two, you have a snap. Fenris, you're only really running Gladiator and Negasonic here for it, but you should be able to get something of reasonable size, playing as a 2 well ahead on rate. Sage is a really great closer for the games you're being cheaper, since she's 3 big power. Cosmo is amazing to shut down whatever opponents put in those Supergiant-ish lanes. Killmonger, we don't deal with a bunch of ones, especially, basically we don't deal with a bunch of ones. Negasonic and Gladiator are destroy cards. Again, Negasonic is incredible with Daredevil or Supergiant with Prio. From there, we're going to go Supergiant, who says you can't reveal that till the game, while also being very great power. Behind Supergiant, you can hide a whole bunch of stuff. Claw is one of them, because people don't expect Claw. You're putting power across 2 lanes. And then Cannonball is a late game kill, amazing for Fendersolf, but also just winning a lane with Cannonball is one of the stronger things to do in all of Marvel Snap. We'll see more Cannonball later this video. This one has a 62% win rate in 100 games. That is fewer games than we usually talk about here, but not by too much. And also, this has existed for 2 months, and it's maintained a really high win rate, basically no matter what time frame you look at. Turn 1 pass, turn 2 Daredevil over Fenris or Mercury. Daredevil is not a snap on 2, but can be a later snap. Turn 3 Negasonic, Gladiator, or a 2. Fenris if we know we're going to play Supergiant, because this is our last time to play Fenris if we're going to Supergiant on 4. Supergiant on 4, and that is often a snap condition over a 2/2. And then if Supergiant or Daredevil, we can go Negasonic, Cosmo, Shadow King, Monger, so on. Sometimes we're going to hide Cannonball if we already have Mercury, or we know we can play Mercury on that last turn. If we don't have Supergiant or Daredevil, we're just going to go Fenris and Gladiator, or Negasonic, or we can just drop Claw. Claw is also perfectly fine under the combo cards, under the Supergiant. Then we're going to go Cannonball or 3/3 and trigger Fenris, and we're done. Right? If we go 3/3 and trigger Fenris, that's often going to be like a Negasonic or a Cosmo and a Sage. Obviously different layers. You should generally win. This one's very, very strong. Again, I don't know why, but Supergiant does not work especially well for me, but this list is obviously proven and incredibly strong. Our Season Pass question is, what's the best deck I missed? That is always the Season Pass question. We do this video every Friday, so if you're interested in trying to win the Season Pass every Friday, answer that question on every Friday's video, where we always do a tier list of the top 10 decks. Our friend BitTwiddle, if you're looking into content creation, does a bunch of thumbnails and overlays and stuff. His prices are on the screen, as is his contact info. Please check him out if you're interested. I believe our finalist is Ika Scream Hellion. Personally, I win on an S tier rate with this, so does Ika, but no one else seems to be playing it or doing especially well with it. I love this list. It puts up a crap ton of points. I keep beating Hella with it, which is a thing Scream deck shouldn't do, but it's really, really great. You can find Ika at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. We need Scream and Sam Wilson here. Batrock can be Hydra Bob or Kingpin. Stomper can be Stegron, and Hellion can be Arrow or also Stegron. Alright, Batrock moves around following either Sam's Shield. It follows anything, but Sam's Shield or Silk make it basically be a 1/8, 1/10, 1/12, which is amazing. Scream only generally gets 2 triggers here. We're really only running Polaris, Spider-Man, and Cannonball, but opponents often move stuff, especially again with Lord Werewolf, so she's generally playing as a 2/9, and we're perfectly happy to run a 2/9. Sam moves Batrock. The shield will also buff Kraven. It will make your Hydra Stomper bigger every time it moves, and it will make your miles cheaper. Also buffing Kraven are Silk, Spider-Man potentially, and whatever Polaris pulls. Also, Kraven is insane with Hellion. You play Hellion, you move Kraven and other cards there, you have a 1 lane with huge stuff. Spider-Man moves Batrock, triggers both the Scream stuff and the Kraven stuff and the Hydra Stomper, so it's really great. Silk can clog us, but is otherwise just a lot of power. Again, Silk moving like 2-3 times in one turn is insane for Hydra Stomper, who plays as like a 2/11, 2/14 in this list, which is awesome. Again, Polaris helps you clog the opponent while also benefiting Scream and potentially Kraven. Power must be controlled. Don't let them go over the top of you. We do run 5s as our tap-in, so having a 1/6 is amazing at the end of the game. Cannonball wins a lane, and Hellion lets us reposition so we can choose what lane we want to win. Turn 1 Batrock, turn 2 Sam over Scream over Kraven over Silk. We're at a point where I prefer Sam for this list. Sam is the straw that stirs the drink. Scream is still incredibly strong, but I generally play her on like turn 4 with Spider-Man. Turn 3 we want Kraven of Sam, Polaris of Kraven, or Scream, or just we can drop Stomper. A 2/2 is generally the turn 4 play, and again, I'm partial to Scream and Spider-Man. Sometimes it'll be like Kraven and Spider-Man, that kind of thing. Turn 5 Hellion or Stomper and a 2. Turn 6 Cannonball plus Miles or Stomper plus Miles plus a 2-drop. I love this list. I would have this so much higher if it was just how good I was with lists. I keep crushing with it. This is like a must-have. Hellion is so freaking good, y'all. If you haven't played him, don't have him. He's incredible. Hey, we host King of the Hill tournaments right now on our Discord. We haven't hosted any, again, Sancho's League is on hiatus, but if you'd like to play in some King of the Hill tournaments, please do come check it out. Our last list is from our friend Skada727, rest in peace. This is the last good Thanos list. This is the only Thanos list putting up numbers in Marvel Snap currently. So happy that it's Skada's list if one was going to survive, but this list is still incredible. This list needs Scar, Thanos, Strange, Surtur, and Cull Obsidian. Sam can be Surge or Iron Patriot. Mockingbird can be Sasquatch. So, Strange Supreme often gets to 10 power and makes Scar cheaper. That's the point of this list. Not having Thanos obviously hurts. You do get a little bit of extra draw and the Space Stone, so you can still get to Thanos, which is pretty good, but not as good. That's what made the deck worse more than anything. Sam Wilson is just decent power, while also just giving you something for Strange to eat. Shadow King shuts down things late in the game. Let's say your opponent has a crazy scaler like Werewolf that's going to try and go over your Cull and Crossbones. Shadow King says, nah, we're good here. Armor protects you from Shang-Chi, as does Cosmo. Surtur gets reasonably big, often playing as like a 3/13. Not in a way to benefit Scar, but still that's enough power at the end of the game. Atuma can help clear you space or be played with armor. You should be able to be ahead of something, so Crossbones. Thanos has 1,000,001, so Cull Obsidian. All those ones make Mockingbird cheap. Not as good with Strange Supreme, but still pretty good. Also, be wary if you can play Mockingbird in a place that can give her 10 power. Even the +1 location, she is going to buff Surtur and make your Scar cheaper. Thanos gives us access to stones and has to be drawn, so he isn't as good, but still good. And then Scar plays as often about a 3/12, which is obviously incredible power, incredible value. So, turn 1, draw. Turn 2, Strange Supreme over Armor equals Sam equals draw. Turn 3, Surtur over a 2 or Cosmo. Turn 4 is a 4/10. Turn 5, Thanos or a 4/10 and a draw. Turn 6, Scar and a big Shadow King. Rip Skada, my friend, your deck is a monster. I'm so happy it's still here. Weekend mission decks. Let's start with Merlin. Merlin is a must-buy season pass card. If you haven't bought Merlin and you have $10, please buy Merlin. You will be happy you did. I would play him at a 2/2. I would probably play him at a 2/1, given how useful his spells are. I absolutely love this card. It is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. I think either it or Surge is probably the best card in the game right now. If you would like a version of this deck, I've been waiting to cover this list all week. It is Ika Cooks. This is Ika's current list of Merlin. It is built around Merlin's abilities here to be played in the Professor X lane, and thus it is incredible. You might Ika once more, twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. Again, he's cooking like a monster right now. You need to be in history. Werewolf, Agamotto, Merlin, and Luna are the 4 needed cards. Nicholas Scratch can be Hydra Bob or Zabu. Nicholas Scratch is often reasonably big. You tend to play about 2 Merlin spells here, at least. So you've got at least a 1/4, but if you go more than that, you're perfectly happy with Scratch. Feel free to cut him, though. Scratch can be Hydra Bob or Zabu. I'm partial to Bob. Kate can be Sam, Surge, and a 1. Jeff can be Nightcrawler. Gwenpool can be Kahori. Alright. Scratch gets reasonably big, right? He's only getting bigger from Merlin and Agamotto, but like a 1/5 is a card you're happy to play. You just drop him because he's good stats, good in a Professor X lane. Quinjet makes the Agamotto spells cheaper. She's not really doing anything else here, but hey, any of those cards cheaper is worthwhile. Sam Wilson gets reasonably big, helps you move around your cards and control where things go. The other thing Sam does is you can throw that shield into Professor X's lane, or use it for extra energy, or turn it into a 1-drop to try and win that Professor X lane. Having access to 1s is really great for Werewolf, and Kate Bishop offers that. Jeff can jump in the Professor X lane, and is also just a powerful card to have access to in this type of deck. Great when hit by Gwenpool especially. Merlin, the spells can be played on Professor X after Professor X, which means that we can get a card out of there in extra energy. Let's say we're losing that lane and we can't get into there, and we played it on 4 with Luna. We can now get that out of there. We can turn it into a 6-drop. It'll be locked, but we can still turn Professor X into a 6-drop in order to try and win the lane. That kind of thing is amazing. The spells also move around Werewolf, who still are big stats. Luna gives us early Professor X and extra energy. Enchantress is to blow up stuff. And then Gwenpool is our little bit of extra stat buff. Turn 1, Quinjet over Scratch. Turn 2, Merlin over Kate over Sam over Jeff. Turn 3, Werewolf or Luna. And Luna is a snap if Professor X. Turn 4, Professor X over Werewolf and Moves or Gwenpool. Professor X or buffed cards on turn 5. We can also play Icon or Balthak. Balthak on Gwenpool is incredible. And then Enchantress plus Spells or Jeff on the last turn in order to win. This one doesn't really have a closer, but it does have enough early game winners that you should be good to go. A huge win rate and a great deck. Clea, meanwhile, is good, but not great. I think she is genuinely a good card. I think Nicholas Scratch is proving to be genuinely a good card. These are not amazing cards, right? They're not must-have cards, but they are cards that make very specific decks better. The deck Clea makes most better is the Swedish Ninja deck. Swedish Ninja created this list. It's the Electra. There was Electra in it prior. We covered this in yesterday's video, but this is, I think, the best Clea list, and with time, it's proven to have the highest win rate, so here we are. Clea with literally 2 ways to get buffed. Nakia and Gwenpool here is more than worth it. You can find Swedish Ninja at Twitch.tv says Sweet Ninja. I believe the I is supposed to be a 1. Sasquatch, Gwenpool, and Merlin are the needed cards. This existed pre-Clea with Electra in that spot and Copycat, or you can run whatever 3 in the Nakia spot. Red Guardian can be Rogue or Gladiator. This is the first time we've seen Red Guardian, hence the Venom Web being so good. Surge can be Jennifer Kale or Psylocke, both worse, but Surge is just generically good. We are running 3 4-drops, so we've got Surge and Zabu in this list. Clea gets bigger, again, from only being hit by Gwenpool or Nakia, but even a single extra card from Clea is incredible. Now you have 2 1-drops that you can play on turn 5, which is obviously very useful to making Sasquatch cheaper. The -3 is really, really good. Merlin gives us access to spells. Again, let's say we don't get anything good on Clea, shove her in the deck or turn her into a 2. Same thing for Zabu or Surge. Same thing for Mysterio clones. Obviously, location control good. Mysterio is here for Gwenpool and to be played on turn 5 to make its cheap Sasquatch on 6. Red Guardian is one of our control cards. Again, Tech Soup, Red Guardian, Mobius, Shang, Enchantress. Nakia gives us a guaranteed, as long as we have Clea, extra card, while also just giving us some more stats. Clea ends up playing for way more stats than she looks like. Gwenpool is supposed to hit Mysterio for that buff, as discussed in the earlier Sarah deck, but also just hitting anything for extra power is nice. And then, of course, Sasquatch is a cheap 10 for last turn play. Turn 1 Zabu over Clea, turn 2 Surge over Merlin, unless you want to go Surge and Merlin on turn 3. Surge and Merlin spell on turn 3. Turn 3 Nakia, Mobius or Merlin spell, and Surge. Turn 4 Gwenpool over 2/2. Turn 5 we're going Mysterio and spells, and then turn 6 we're going Sasquatch plus Shang or Enchantress. Then we usually win. This list is kind of great. Question of the day, as always, is honorable mention. Please remember, honorable mention decks are by definition B-tier decks. B-tier is usually a lot bigger than just the decks I feature. This is a good way to show other things in that tier. For example, I think Bounce Move is right now a B-tier deck. The extra Killmonger all over the place is much worse for Bounce Move than Standard Move. Although Bounce Move can avoid the Killmonger better, it is often more reliant on Human Torch as the cheapest thing to bounce. Next up, also Cosmo's back, and Cosmo does not bother the regular move, but is super obnoxious for the bounce move. Frigga and Hellion and I can't think of her name, Fan Fei, are the reason for that. I'm getting real sleepy, friends. Next up, we've got Negative. Negative is great. Mobius isn't just enough of the Tech Soup decks to hold this off, and the real problem here is Magic is vulnerable to Merlin's change location spell. Merlin's change location spell is really, really annoying for Magic, and that often loses negative cubes. Outside of that, Negative is kind of a beast. Cerebro 2 remains a great deck. Again, we saw just how much Enchantress was in all these lists, which outside of the Goose Lane can give us trouble, but we're also running Zabu and Surge, so there's a little bit of give and take there. If you can manage to get the Cerebro stuff going, it puts up as much power as anything. Our friend Cougar's tech deck is still great, so is the old cam best version of it. This is still really strong. Not as strong. Again, Mobius's prevalence is annoying, but it is still very, very strong. And then the Thor's list is the closest list, in my opinion, of making the top. The Thor's list is another Tech Soup list that also just has the power of Thor in order to get extra stuff. It's running Invisible Woman, so it's got the extra prio. We've got our Killmonger, we've got our Shang-Chi, we've got our Shadow King. This is probably the best Fire Hero deck around, too. So I really, really like this Thor's list. This is Sizer's list. Someone updated it. They took out Iron Patriot and added Shadow King, and now it's a meta list. But hey, Thor's is really, really close to like B, if not A tier. It's just another Tech Soup, except this one runs Thor's and Misery. Turn to support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. I'm going to say thank you to a bunch of Patrons relatively quickly. First, our Patreon of the month, Jonesy Snap 22. Please check him out. Thank you to Abigail Gleason, Manager Bernard, Irregulus, LAB, Inc., Iron Frostman, Hota Neverete, Prime Brian, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Snap, Run Wrench, Caretix Lee, Corey Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Profos, The Goat Seeker, Goatsy, Code, Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, Fat Dick, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Fuffle Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Bradford, Chapel, Vanilla, to the James Zone, The Biz, Black Jeebus 23, Extra Sweet, and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Slush Death, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kelsey, Steve-O, Kepsi Hoda, Lamb, Colonel Foreman, Rob Silverman, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Mr. Greg Sterry, Matt V., Corey, Corbin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Yes Down, 8 Sage, One Big Bad, Milkman for Reals, Cactus, Reaper, Yo Marco, Ted Pro, Quid Pro Joe, Snapchat Joe, Dick Pro Low, 220, Models Much Supreme, Pickety Boom Bop, Green, Goblin, Dope, Gone, Bricks 2 Click, Green Goblin, Unibot V2, Flan 56, Spectrum X, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H, DJ, Mackie Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Toxic Soul King, Zodric 74, The King of Gala, JJ, Dead Man Falcon, Fafnor Newman, 2 Ties, who I will see in 2 days, The Great Lord as the Pirate King Tucker, and of course Gunny T. The T stands for I'm going to sleep, but I'll still have a video for you on the 5th of July and every day thereafter. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate all of you. Peace.